we are going to talk about the present perfect and present perfect continuous. So far, we have talked about the simple present, which we use for routines, habits, schedules, facts, permanent situations. Present continuous. We've talked about the simple past, the past continuous, and the future. Another really important verb tense that's used in English is the present perfect. There are three main ways that we use the present perfect. We use it for unfinished actions. We use it to talk about life experiences. And we use it to talk about past actions that relate to the present or to something happening now. So let's go through all of these. So first, we use it for unfinished actions. And this is probably the most popular and common reason why the present perfect is used. So these are events that started in the past and they're still happening now, or they're still true. We have some sentences here. I'll go through some of them. I have lived in San Diego for many years. So I lived here in the past and I still live here now. My classmates have studied English since they were children. He has known his best friend for 5 years. I have drunk 3 cups of coffee this morning. She hasn't smoked a cigarette for 5 years. We've read 5 books this summer. So here's a timeline to show you some of these unfinished actions. So if you look at this is now, okay, and in 2011, that's when I started teaching. But I have continued to teach from then until now. So I could say, I have taught English since 2011. So it started here and continues until the present, right now. Going back to those first sentences, I want to point out where we see words like for and since. So this tells how long the action is true. So I have lived in San Diego for many years. So you use for and a length of time. The length of time here is many years. My classmates have studied English since they were children. With since, you'd use a specific date or time. So here, they were children. That was a specific time. He has known his best friend for 5 years. So again, after 4, you have a length of time, 5 years. So this tells the person how long this has been happening for. For these examples, it started in the past and maybe it's still true, but it shows that maybe it's not done. So I have drunk 3 cups of coffee this morning. That means the action might not be done. So it is still morning and I might have more coffee. If I use the simple past, I drank 3 cups of coffee this morning. The action is done. It's not morning anymore and I will not drink more coffee. Another time we use the present perfect is for life experiences. So this is when the experience was important and you want to focus on the event, but it doesn't matter when it happened. So here I've traveled to China, Canada, Turkey, and Mexico. My brother has lived in Washington, California, Vermont, Oklahoma, and Texas. I've never been to Rome. I have not been to Rome. We've met people from all over the world. She hasn't visited Florida yet. These events are not still happening. They're done, right? If I say I've traveled to China, Canada, Turkey, and Mexico, it's done. It's in the past. I am not traveling there right now. But I don't want to focus on the fact that it's done because this was a big experience in my life and maybe it influences me now. So just a note here is that when you use the present perfect to talk about past events, you can't say when it happened. So I would not say I've traveled to China in 2011. That's too specific. For this sentence, I would need to use the simple past. The third reason we might use the present perfect is to talk about past events that are connected to something in the present. So here, I've studied psychology, so I know a little bit about how the brain works. He's listened to the news so he can tell us about what happened. So these events happened in the past and they're done, but they relate to the present situation. So I've studied psychology in the past. I know present a little bit about how the brain works. He's listened to the news, that was in the past, so he can tell us about what happened. That's right now in the present. Here are some notes on forming the present perfect. Notice you have the subject, have or has, and the past participle of the verb. So you will need to learn the past participle form of verbs in order to use the present perfect correctly. You can pause the video on this slide to take notes, or you can continue on if you think you know this part. Okay, The next part we're going to talk about is the present perfect progressive, or the present perfect continuous. Wow, so just like the present perfect, you can use this for unfinished events. They're not done. You also can use the present perfect progressive to talk about events that just finished in the recent past. So let's look at unfinished events first. I've been living in San Diego for 5 years. She's been studying since 5 a.m. They've been dating for several years. So this can be confusing because if we look at our timeline, if it starts in the past, in 2011 became a teacher, continues till now, it looks like you can use both the present perfect and the present perfect continuous. So why would I use the present perfect continuous? The continuous tense focuses on length of time. It emphasizes that something has continued non-stop over a period of time. So you could use both of these here. But if I say I have been teaching English, if I use the continuous tense, it really focuses on I have been doing this continuously since 2011, non-stop. Here are some more examples of that. I've learned about nutrition for 10 years. I've been learning about nutrition for 10 years. She's eaten a lot of vegetables lately. She's been eating a lot of vegetables lately. He's lost weight. He's been losing weight. So in these cases, both of these verb tenses make sense and they say similar ideas. But as a writer and a speaker, think about what makes your point the most precise and clear. Maybe you want to focus on, wow, this has been happening constantly. And then you would use the continuous tense. Okay, another time you use the present perfect continuous for events that just finished. Sorry I'm late. I've been doing errands all day. She's out of breath because she's just been running. So these events in the present perfect continuous just finished. Here are some notes about forming the present perfect continuous. You can see affirmative statements, negative statements, adding adverbs like just and recently. Again, you can pause here or continue on. So some final thoughts for using the present perfect continuous, and all verb tenses. Something to remember. The first is clarity. Use verb tenses to make actions and ideas more clear and concise. Second is emphasis. Use verb tenses to emphasize or focus on specific actions or length of time. And the third is choice. Choose carefully. Verb tenses may seem confusing or frustrating, but they give you a lot of power to communicate your ideas and to communicate your ideas very concisely and in a more interesting way. All right, that's all for now. Thank you so much and take care.